Long ago, Robert Mason was an explorer who spent his life searching for secrets buried under the earth. During a perilous expedition to a remote cave in Kashmir, Robert Mason discovered an unusual ancient book. It was a manuscript that told the hidden story of Jesus of Nazareth. Just as he started to read the manuscript, strange men showed up out of nowhere. They claimed to be local officials, but they moved too quickly, like they already knew what Robert had found. They took the manuscript and told him to forget about it, but Robert had read enough to know the truth. He had just enough time to scribble down what he remembered in his diary before the men took it away. And then, just like that, the manuscript vanished. Years later, Robert Mason died, leaving behind only his old books and journals. When his grandson was cleaning up his things, he found Robert's diary hidden in a pile of papers. At first, he thought it was just an old journal about his grandpa's adventures, but when he started to read it, he realized this was no ordinary story. It served as a cautionary tale, one that demanded remembrance. It was a story that could make people question everything they believe in. This manuscript told a terrifying secret about Jesus. According to Robert's notes, Jesus wasn't just a man, and he wasn't exactly what people think of as God either. He was an alien sent to Earth with a mission, a visitor from the stars. The Zetaeans, a race, had a plan for humanity, and Jesus was their means of bringing it to fruition. These aliens had been watching over Earth for ages, guiding human progress in secret. The manuscript suggested that Jesus had a plan to usher humanity into a new era, yet it remained concealed beneath layers of myth and mystery. And this is where the Vatican comes in, the center of the Roman Catholic Church, known for its ancient history and powerful influence. The Vatican, according to the notes Robert managed to jot down, knew about this hidden history. They knew that if people discovered Jesus wasn't just a divine miracle worker but an alien experiment, it would change everything. They couldn't risk it, so they kept the secret locked away, hidden in the shadows. They even sent secret agents to snatch the manuscript from Robert before he could tell anyone what he had found. The goal was simple: keep this story buried at all costs, just like they did in the past, whenever new knowledge threatened their power. For centuries, the Vatican had been hiding stories that didn't fit with what they wanted the world to believe. Historical records show that they kept certain ancient texts away from the public, only allowing a chosen few to know what they contained. In the early 1500s, when new ideas about the universe started to surface, they tried to silence people like Galileo Galilei, who dared to say that Earth wasn't the center of everything. The same kind of secrecy surrounded Robert's discovery. According to the manuscript, it wasn't just about protecting their power. It was about controlling the very foundation of what millions believed. If people found out that the stories of Jesus' divine miracles were actually the result of alien technology, they might lose their faith. The Vatican believed that this truth could cause chaos, and they couldn't let that happen. This hidden story described Jesus as a hybrid being, a mix of human and something not of this world. The ancient text talked about a race of aliens called the Zetaeans, beings from a faraway part of the universe who had been observing Earth for thousands of years. These beings were incredibly advanced, far beyond what humans could imagine. Unlike us, they didn't have physical bodies in the same way. They were described as beings of energy, almost like living light, and they had knowledge of science that seemed like magic. The Zetaeans saw Earth as a young world with potential, but they believed humans needed guidance to reach their true destiny. And so, they decided to send Jesus as their messenger. According to Robert Mason's notes, Mary, Jesus' mother, didn't conceive him through a miracle, but through advanced alien intervention. Imagine a light that shone brighter than the sun, hovering above her, a ship from another world. From this ship came a being of light who implanted a life within Mary. The story of an angel visiting Mary concealed a far stranger process, an alien creating a new kind of being. While Jesus looked human, he possessed powers that came from his alien heritage. This wasn't just about turning water into wine or walking on water. It was about his ability to manipulate energy and connect with the universe in ways humans couldn't. When he healed people, he wasn't performing a miracle in the traditional sense. He was using advanced abilities to change the way matter and energy worked. When he calmed storms, he was actually bending the forces of nature itself. To the people around him, these acts seemed like divine miracles, but they were, in fact, a result of his unique origin. Though shaped by a perspective not fully human, his teachings and messages still emanated from a place of wisdom. He spoke about love, kindness, and a higher purpose because he had a vision of humanity's potential, something the Zetaeans believed in. He grew up among people who couldn't understand why he was different or why he had strange abilities. He had memories buried deep inside him, fragments of another world, but he couldn't fully access them. As he grew older, he began to sense that his purpose was much greater than he could comprehend. He felt trapped between two worlds, one human and the other alien, and he had to find a way to unite them. The idea that Jesus' divinity could come from an alien source is not just strange, it's mind-bending. It makes you wonder about the nature of miracles and where the line between science and spirituality really lies. The secret manuscript didn't just change the story of where Jesus came from, it also revealed that his entire life was filled with an intense struggle, a fight that no one around him could truly see. Most people think of Jesus as a powerful figure, performing miracles with ease, but the truth, according to this forbidden text, was much more complicated. His journey was full of hardship, and every miracle he performed came with a terrible cost. From the moment he was born, Jesus had abilities that set him apart. He could heal wounds, bring people back from the brink of death, and even control nature itself. But these powers came from his alien heritage, and they weren't limitless. The manuscript explained that each time Jesus used these powers, it drained his life energy. Imagine having the power to help people, but knowing that every time you did, you would become weaker. This was the painful reality Jesus faced every day. A striking part of the manuscript was how it described Jesus' miracles' price. When he healed the blind or made a crippled person walk, he could feel his own strength slipping away. It felt more like a depletion of his spirit than mere fatigue after a long day. He understood that if he kept using his powers, he wouldn't be able to survive for long. Jesus' greatest struggle was trying to balance his compassion with the knowledge that each miracle brought him closer to the end. He wanted to help as many people as he could, but he knew that his time on earth was limited. This wasn't something he could explain to his followers, who believed he was invincible. They saw his powers as proof of his divinity, but they didn't understand the pain he felt after each act of kindness. For instance, people often view the story of Lazarus rising from the dead as a symbol of hope and eternal life. But according to Robert Mason's notes, this event nearly destroyed Jesus. Bringing Lazarus back wasn't just about saying a few words. It required a huge release of energy that left Jesus so weakened he could barely stand for days afterward. He knew that he was risking his own life every time he performed such miracles, but he couldn't ignore the needs of those who came to him for help. The ultimate sacrifice came when Jesus faced the cross. We know the story of his crucifixion as a moment of selfless suffering, but the manuscript suggested it was much more than that. Jesus endured more than just physical pain when nailed to the cross. He used his last strength to draw in the world's darkness and negativity. It was like he became a lightning rod, absorbing every bit of suffering, every bad feeling, and every shadow of evil that existed. Not the nails or crown of thorns, but the weight of all this dark energy crushing him from the inside made him cry out in pain. He knew this would end his life on earth, but it was the only way to serve his mission. He had to hold back the dark forces that threatened to break free, even if it meant sacrificing everything he had left. But even with this understanding, Jesus faced moments of deep doubt. He wondered if he could hold on long enough, if his sacrifice would truly make a difference, when he called out, "Father, why have you abandoned me?" He wasn't just talking to God, he was questioning whether he had the strength to keep going. It was a moment of pure, heartbreaking struggle, one that the manuscript revealed in all its depth and sorrow. The manuscript showed that Jesus' journey was not just about leading people, it was about bearing a burden so immense it could have shattered anyone else. It painted him not as an untouchable divine figure, but as someone who faced impossible choices and terrifying challenges. He knew that his life would end too soon, but he chose to keep fighting anyway, pushing through his fear and exhaustion because he believed in a future where humanity could thrive. As Jesus navigated his extraordinary life, he faced not only the challenge of his powers, but also the deep wounds of betrayal and the sadness of loss. The hidden manuscript revealed that his story wasn't just about miracles and teachings. It was filled with heartbreak and unexpected treachery, making his mission even more difficult. The manuscript hints at how this betrayal weighed heavily on Jesus. Imagine trusting someone with your life only to find out that they are the reason for your downfall. What Judas's actions symbolized was that even your closest allies could turn against you when the stakes were highest. For Jesus, this wasn't just a personal hurt, it was a reminder of how fragile human loyalty could be. Yet despite knowing Judas's intentions, he never condemned him. He accepted the betrayal as part of his journey, even though it tore him apart inside. But Judas's betrayal wasn't the only source of pain. As the night of his arrest drew closer, Jesus could see the fear and uncertainty spreading among his other disciples. These were the men who had faithfully followed him, witnessed his miracles, and listened to his teachings. Yet, when they realized that staying with him meant risking their lives, their courage faltered. When the authorities took him away in his darkest hour, most of his friends fled, leaving him to face his fate alone. It was a heartbreaking moment of abandonment that revealed how human fear can overwhelm even the strongest of friendships. Even Peter, one of his most devoted followers, denied knowing him, not once, but 3 times. Peter had always been by Jesus' side, proclaiming his loyalty. But when the pressure mounted, he couldn't stand by his word. The manuscript described how Jesus, even in his suffering, felt the sting of Peter's denial. It was as if all the trust and bonds he had built were crumbling when he needed them the most. These moments of abandonment weren't just painful, they were a reminder to Jesus of how truly alone he was in his mission. The disciples didn't fully understand what he was going through, the weight he was carrying, or the dangers he was facing. They couldn't grasp the cosmic struggle he was part of, and so, when faced with fear, they ran. The hidden text suggested that this sense of loneliness only deepened his resolve, but it left him with a sorrow that he carried all the way to the cross. But betrayal didn't only come from those he knew well. The manuscript revealed another shock that cut even deeper. His grandfather's closest companion, Marcus Hunter, who had secretly worked with the Vatican to hide the alien manuscript. Marcus wasn't just a stranger. He had been with Robert Mason through many expeditions, sharing both the triumphs and dangers of their discoveries. Yet, when they found the forbidden manuscript in the caves of Kashmir, Marcus turned against him, revealing their secret to agents who took the manuscript away. This betrayal was especially painful for Robert Mason, because it meant that someone he had trusted with his life had been hiding a dark agenda. They had planted Marcus in his team to silence any discovery that threatened the church's secrets. It wasn't just a personal betrayal, it was a sign of how far some were willing to go to keep the truth hidden. Marcus's actions made Robert realize that he was up against forces far bigger and more powerful than he had imagined, forces that wouldn't hesitate to crush anyone who got too close to the truth. If you're enjoying this story and the mystery it unravels, why not show your support by hitting that super thanks button? Every bit of support goes a long way in allowing us to continue exploring these incredible mysteries and sharing them with you. The manuscript showed that loss and betrayal were constant shadows in this story. They weren't just painful memories, they were a part of the journey, shaping the choices and sacrifices of those involved. For Jesus, they highlighted the loneliness of his mission, the sadness of watching those he loved turn away when things got too hard. For Robert Mason, the betrayal revealed the dangers of seeking the truth and of how even those standing beside you could be part of a plan to keep secrets buried. The Vatican's unwavering efforts to conceal this truth demonstrate the extent to which powerful institutions will go to any lengths to maintain control over the narrative and safeguard the centuries-old stories. They keep secret because they fear what would happen if the world knew Jesus was divine and part of an alien plan. They understand that revealing this truth could shake the very foundations of belief, unraveling the comforting tales that have guided people for generations. For Robert Mason's grandson, finding the diary opened a door to a hidden reality, one that challenged him to look beyond the surface of the world he knew. It served as a reminder that those with the power to shape our beliefs often write history. And for every truth that comes to light, there are countless others that remain buried, hidden away in vaults or lost to time, waiting for someone brave enough to dig them up. The story of Jesus, the Zetaeans, and the forbidden manuscript isn't just about what happened in the past. It's about the mysteries that still surround us, challenging us to keep searching and to keep questioning. Somewhere beneath the surface of our daily existence, the echoes of those secrets continue to reverberate, serving as a constant reminder that there's always more to the tale than we initially grasped. Thank you for being part of this adventure. Join our community by subscribing to this channel. Until the next video.